Good evening and welcome to INFOWARS Nightly News with me, your host, Paul Joseph Watson, on this May 2nd, 2012 edition.
Tonight on the INFOWARS Nightly News, Paul Joseph Watson covers the no-fly zone that will be over Chicago during the NATO summit with shoot-to-kill orders. Then, a renowned treasure hunter who doesn't buy the bin Laden fable plans on diving to the site where the body was reportedly dumped to do DNA testing. And a Tennessee man arrested for using cash. Then, Darren McBreen interviews Luke Radowski on his recent confrontation with Obama lackey Cass Sunstein. Darren will also give us an update on the case involving Chicken Man Andrew Wirtis. It's all this and more on INFOWARS Nightly News. I take you now to London, England with Paul Joseph Watson.
First story tonight on INFOWARS Nightly News out of CBS Chicago. No-fly zone to be enforced by shoot-to-kill order during NATO summit. A new report reveals plans to keep residents and dignitaries safe during the NATO summit include a no-fly zone with a shoot-to-kill mandate for those who break the ban. Quote, the United States government may use deadly force against the airborne aircraft if it is determined that the aircraft poses an imminent security threat, the advisory says. Be advised that non-compliance with the published notice to airmen may result in the use of force. So we already have the evacuation order that was handed to the Red Cross by city officials and the Secret Service, of course, who later denied all knowledge. We've got tenants being warned to leave the city by their management companies. And now we've got a shoot-to-kill no-fly zone. So it's basically all part of the police state showcase that accompanies every one of these national security events. And the message being sent is that, you know, when the NATO gods meet, you will not interfere. They're setting up the free speech zones. They're trying to move them as far away from the actual summit as possible. They've got heavily armed feds roaming around the city, and they're shutting down the highways and putting up checkpoints. So it represents, again, a massive photo opportunity for the government to showcase how America is now officially a militarized police state. And it sends the message that, you know, protesting against the New World Order will be met by an army of gun-wielding goons, surveillance technologies, and torture tools. And it's the whole process of making the idea itself of merely protesting this gaggle of crooks as somehow dirty, criminal, and akin to terrorism. So welcome to the New World Order. The First Amendment has been abolished. Treasure hunter fears assassination over search for bin Laden's body. The California treasure hunter who believes he has located the spot where the U.S. Navy allegedly dumped the body of Osama bin Laden says he wants to try and discover the corpse and subject it to DNA testing because he doesn't believe the Obama administration's official story about the death of the al-Qaeda leader. Fearing the U.S. government could target him for assassination if he tries to recover the cadaver, shipwreck expert Bill Warren told Spanish newspaper El Mundo that he has pinpointed the site where bin Laden's body was ejected by using recently released U.S. Navy photos. So basically, we've got this famous treasure hunter, and he's quite well known. You can go and look him up. He's known for doing this kind of thing. He's trying to collect $200,000 to pay for this mission, which he plans to get underway in early June. And he says it could take up to 3 months, but as little as 1 week to find the supposed corpse of Osama bin Laden or whatever it is that they dumped in the ocean. But of course, what all the media coverage of this has sidelined is the fact that the primary reason of why he's going to the trouble of doing all this is because he doesn't believe the government's official narrative on the dubious bin Laden raid. So that's why he's so fearful of being assassinated before he's even able to recover the body, because he doesn't believe they actually killed him at the time when they announced it happened, of course, 1 year ago. So given the fact that we've exhaustively documented the phony narrative surrounding the bin Laden execution, you know, the innumerable experts saying that he died as much as 10 years beforehand, the staged situation room photos with, you know, Obama and Hillary Clinton looking really grim and serious because they watched it happening live Turns out that was complete BS. They never watched it at all. Stage managed for propaganda purposes. And of course, we had all the villagers in the neighborhood saying they knew the people who lived in that house. It wasn't bin Laden, it was just their regular neighbors, amidst a deluge of other evidence that we've catalogued. And it sounds like this treasure hunter, Bill Warren, is aware of all this. He's been reading InfoWars, presumably. So let's hope that this dangerous mission that he's about to embark on, with the knowledge that it could make him a target for assassination, is indeed successful, because, you know, the US government has refused to release DNA evidence. They've refused to release photographs of bin Laden's corpse. So this private individual is going to go out and try and find the evidence for himself. So we will await the results with bated breath. Next story. Tech giant warns CISPA is alarming threat to privacy. Tech giant Mozilla has publicly slammed the Cyber Intelligence Sharing and Protection Act, CISPA, which passed the House last week, labeling the legislation an alarming threat to privacy. And you can read the full statement on INFOWARS.com. So basically, every other Silicon Valley giant is backing this bill because they know that the backlash that we saw with SOPA hasn't arrived. It hasn't been allowed to build that kind of momentum. But kudos to Mozilla for condemning this, because they're the only ones to do so. Apple, Google, AOL, Symantec, all of them are backing this. And of course, CISPA has passed the House, but it's heading to the Senate, where it's going to be amalgamated with two other bills, one of two other bills, one of which is sponsored by Joe, we need an internet kill switch like communist China Lieberman. Again, that's of no concern whatsoever. And then obviously it heads to Obama's desk, but don't worry, because he's promised to veto it, just like he promised to veto the NDAA, and we all know how that ended up. So what precisely will CISPA enact if it is allowed to pass? Well, according to TechDirt's Lee Beeden, who's analysed the bill, quote, the government will be able to search information it collects under CISPA for the purposes of investigating American citizens with complete immunity from all privacy protections, as long as they can claim someone committed a, quote, cybersecurity crime. Basically, it says the Fourth Amendment does not apply online at all. That's right, completely kills it stone dead. Moreover, the government can do whatever it wants with the data, as long as it can claim that someone was in danger of bodily harm, or that the children were somehow threatened. The children, it's all for the children. And of course, we reported on another provision of CISPA, which is the fact that it allows the DHS to intercept all federal communications, including your tax returns. So unless the fight to push back CISPA gains in momentum, all the people who fought SOPA are going to find that their efforts were in vain. Homeland Security official tweets socialist applause, happy May Day, from the Daily Caller. And there's also an Infowars.com article about this as well. A staffer for President Barack Obama's Department of Homeland Security is praising the left-wing May Day protests. On Tuesday evening, Nate Snyder, the special advisor to Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano for, quote, community partnership and strategic engagement, tweeted, quote, happy May Day, hashtag solidarity. And this follows on, of course, from yesterday's story about the Obama-Biden re-election campaign slogan, which, of course, is forward, borrowed from Marxist and communist publications and political slogans of decades past. And of course, we know, as Joel Skousen documented at length yesterday, May 1st is the International Day of Commies. It's the day China and North Korea and the former Soviet Union like to roll out their tanks and celebrate communism and red terror and that kind of cuddly-feely thing. So the fact that the Obama administration, you know, with Obama himself, his history, his rise to prominence being off the back of the communist weather underground terrorist Bill Ayers, and of course the DHS, whose every action seems to revolve around turning the United States into America with a K, they're both hailing Global Communist Day, so it makes perfect sense. Very fitting indeed. Next story, Obama Nazi posters go viral. AOL corporate asset, the Huffington Post, has posted an article insinuating that Alex Jones is linked to a flyer distributed in Michigan that features a Nazi swastika. The flyer pairs an image of a swastika alongside a movie cover for the film The Obama Deception, a documentary. They put documentary in hyphen, like it's not a real documentary. It's only got tens of millions of views, but it's not a documentary because they, put a slight on it with little commas next to it. Documentary by renowned right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, the site reports. According to MLive, the flyer was placed on parking meters in downtown Grand Rapids. So, according to the left, characterizing Obama as a Nazi is certainly unfair. I mean, it is unfair in the sense that, they're not gassing people in death camps or anything. But the administration has certainly, they've exercised powers that the Nazis refused to even claim. When the Nazis executed people, at least they were forced to put on some kind of show trial. I'm talking about before the war, before they went through with it. Not the Obama administration. They claim, of course, the power to able to assassinate American citizens worldwide with no legal due process. That could be described as a Nazi-type power. Signing the NDAA, Americans snatched off the street, detained without trial, that could be described as a Nazi-style power. But as we document in this article, it's more accurate to describe the Obama administration as fascist because of the fact that it's completely controlled by corporate interests and the likes of Goldman Sachs. And of course, the liberal Huffington Post fails to mention the fact that for 8 years, the left depicted George W. Bush as a Nazi. But God forbid anybody should do the same to Obama. I mean, remember when the Joker poster contest was running and people were getting arrested simply for posting these flyers up everywhere? And being, accused of engaging in racist hate crimes for depicting Obama as the Joker out of Batman. Again, the left did it for 8 years to Bush, but when the same criticism is leveled at Christ incarnate, Barack Obama, such dissent